Good, Ben? Day 4. This is Cam Grayling interview with Christian. Take 1. Got one camera going. Boom, plus a lav. Marker. They're going to walk back up after the muffle.
It's right up here.
Successfully muffled. I will just tell you what.
Down here.
Oh, excuse me.
What time are you up this morning?
6:30. What time do you guys get up?
We're up about 7. Load up the car.
Where do you guys have breakfast?
We had breakfast at the hotel. We have, you know, like cereal, coffee, juice,
Okay,
a
good.
little continental style, some fruit.
Everything was good?
Yeah, great.
Awesome.
Yeah, can't complain. Okay.
I hear less clanging. They must be being successful back there.
Hanging off the thing. It's pretty fun to watch.
They are just holding it right now.
Are they?
I'm hoping they don't
You
feel
guys
lazy
start
to do
whenever
that.
you're ready.
Did you listen for a second here, Ben?
I did. We sound good.
Something about Jimmy is that if there's any kind of situation at all that you can apply, like an ingenious way of solving it, he can figure it out.
Yeah.
He's
that kind of guy.
yeah, he's
I will do whatever it takes.
yeah, he's just
So you're taking July and August off and you're going again in September?
September and October, yeah. Yeah, we got to consolidate on sort of our wins and our experiences and some of the things that some of the inroads we've made into some of these channels. Like, I don't think you were there when we were talking about the general Vadney that's here. So we're making progress into some of the higher ranks in the military too, as well as into some corporate conversations, and so that's going to be the focus of effort.
Okay.
Yeah.
As soon as these guys get back up, there you go. Christian, do me a favor. Give me one of these just across your face. Just want to check our exposure here. Okay, thank you.
That's much better. Good job. Jimmy fixed it. I know he did.
All right, let's do it.
Cool. All right. Christian, thank you so much for talking to us. I'm looking really forward to this. And we're going to kind of structure this in talking about your military background, your corporate background, various characteristics between corporate employees, veterans, and then sort of get into the mission of Project Reload. So just a lot of background right now, if that's okay.
Okay.
Cool. And so let's start. Can you give us a brief rundown of your military career?
So my military career started in 1990, and I was an active duty Marine Corps officer from 90 to 1997. I joined prior to the first Gulf War. I never saw theater and was in a position where I was deployed to Okinawa for 3 years. After being in Okinawa from 90 to 93, I moved on to a role in the headquarters, what we call the headquarters of, excuse me,
No problem.
I'll start over. My military career started in 1990. I graduated from the University of Michigan and became an officer in the United States Marine Corps. I spent 3 years on Okinawa, and then went to the crossroads of the Marine Corps, and then was stationed for another 3 or so years on Quantico, Virginia. I exited the Marine Corps as a captain of Marines.
And then can you talk about your civilian career since that point in time?
All
Broad
right.
strokes.
Yeah, yeah.
In
Yeah, I was
general, kind of how to
trying to
describe.
think about how to summarize that.
Yeah.
After my civilian career started in 1997. After exiting the Marine Corps, I served in a consulting company. Was inspired to start my own company by that experience. I was quite successful in that, and yet still wanted to do something sort of truly corporate and less entrepreneurial. I joined the third largest communication group in the world, Publicis Group, although it was something different at the time. It became Publicis after a series of acquisitions, and ended up now as the CIO of UL, formerly known as Underwriters Laboratories.
All right, wonderful. So in your 7 years in the Marines, can you give us a general list of qualities and attributes of what you feel you bring yourself as well as fellow Marines? What do they bring to the table in terms of things that they can offer in the workforce?
Okay. One of the qualities that I believe our servicemen and women can offer, and this is coming from the perspective of being in the United States Marine Corps, is a sense of mission, of purpose, of selflessness, of adaptability, resilience, and initiative. These are qualities that are embedded in our men and women that serve, particularly in the United States Marine Corps, of which I can speak, yet I believe actually true for all the services. And these are qualities that are just very, very much in demand in the corporate world, because especially now more than ever, the corporate world is becoming increasingly dynamic. You need people that can learn on their feet. And very candidly, we need people that care more about just themselves. And again, so that selflessness, that character that they bring, which is about team, esprit, and accomplishing something bigger than just the individual, is very, very valuable.
And then, since 1997, you have had a successful civilian career, and so I'm wondering, what are the characteristics of successful corporate employees, people who you would want to work with, and people who you would want to hire and bring onto your team?
There's a door about to shut here in a second.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of people right there. I think they're going to be turning off that. Yeah, I think so. So they're kind of should I answer even though we may get interrupted, or should I just hold your call?
Let's start. Well, let's try it out. Go ahead and try to answer, and we'll redo it if we need to.
All right, so I'm going to recap the question as best I'm able, and essentially I would start by saying the qualities and characteristics of the people I like to work with are. Is that fair?
That would be great.
Okay. The sort of people that I like to work with in any context, and specifically a corporate context, is I want people that have, really great initiative. I like people that are decisive. I like people that are really have a high tolerance for risk and have courage in maybe doing some things that they're unfamiliar with. And I really personally favor working with people that are more interested in the team than they are in just themselves. I like working with a team. I like working with people that care about the team. And I really like working with people that care about the people they work with. If we really believe that organizations are the best organizations are comprised of the best people, then I think we find the best in people come out when they work together.
So everything that you just said can be summarized in, I think, one word, and that is character. So if you could talk to the importance of the quality of character in the corporate workforce, that would be great. So I guess the question is, can you talk about how important character is in terms of successful corporate employees?
I think character is the most important thing when it comes to a person in general, and certainly an employee in the workforce. Character is something that's forged over time. It's something that's forged by experience, and I feel that character, that things like, I feel like character like the topic of integrity is absolutely critical. I'm going to just stop and collect myself because I feel like I was going to turn into a long run-on sentence. All right, I'll try that again. I think character is the most important thing that we have to consider when we're hiring people into jobs. I've read recently, and I've been received a lot of sort of feedback. I'll stop that again. I think character is the most important thing that we need to consider in hiring people for jobs. We hire people in corporate America primarily around the topic of technical skills. Do they have a college degree? Do they have X number of years in a specific industry? Do they know a certain process or system or technology? And while most of our hiring decisions are based on those technical qualifications, the vast majority of our firings and terminations in jobs are because of character defects. They lied, they cheated, they stealed, they failed to apply themselves, they were decisive enough, they were too risk averse, etc. I think character is the most important thing that we can find and look for in people, because it is the thing that sustains people in jobs. It is the thing that makes people the most effective in the workplace. Technical skills, they'll get, especially if they have character.
All right, very good. So, this is a sort of a specific request, but it's something that you said in our pre-interview, and it has to do with the hiring process. Okay, and you used the description of a stack of resumes and how exactly. And the the check boxes of 4 years of college, this much experience, so and how the veterans didn't make the grade. They didn't even get looked at initially. Okay, so the problem that I want to explore in this answer is the problem in the hiring bias, which again I want you to explain what hiring bias is, if you could. So give me a sense of what you think hiring bias is, and then just give me an illustration of how it happens, as far as how military veterans don't even get looked at many times because they don't have the traditional trajectory of traditional professional trajectory as their civilian counterparts. So again, a very specific request, but I kind of need it coming from you.
Because it's a voiceover for that, if I remember So that's like a 3-part thing,
it
so
is.
that's fine.
So take your time, feel free to collect yourself. I also might ask you to rework little parts of it, but it's not because you aren't awesome at saying it, it's just because I'm sort of, in my mind, I know how it needs to kind of go. So
awesome.
Trying to be as spontaneous and unscripted as possible, but please say this exact thing.
However you want to do it. Hey, can I use my hands? Because I feel like I'm doing this, and I feel like I'm like...
No, you may use your hands, just don't get out of your focal plane.
I'm still good?
Just imagine that you have...
Okay.
Your military rigidity is serving you well in your posture right now, but use your hands and facial expressions, all of that. Get into it. Okay. So let's break it down so it's not so much to remember. Christian, can you tell me about this notion of hiring bias in terms of military veterans?
So there is a hiring bias that adversely affects military veterans, and there's 2 sides to this. So the first side is you have corporate America and the HR departments are really unfamiliar with what military veterans bring in terms of their experience, their background, their sort of innate qualities and characteristics. On the other hand, that bias is actually, shall we say, amplified by the fact that veterans are actually very, very poor at communicating outside of their respective language. So they speak in acronyms, they speak in sort of obscure terms, at least from a corporate perspective, and then the 2 things fail to match up, and you have HR departments that essentially look past the veterans because they're unable to quickly understand and apply what the veterans have in terms of background and skills to openings that they have in terms of jobs and opportunities. And so many veterans are sort of left, off to the side, wanting to be looked at when these connections aren't able to be made.
All right, that was really great. Now, let's take that, basically the exact same thing that you said, but use it in the form of an illustration. So let's talk about, from the perspective of a hiring manager, an HR department, who,
The stack and the
yeah, exactly.
okay.
Just let's say, all right, you have a job and you need to fill it, and it's an important position, and you have 200 people to apply. Tell me a lot of times what happens in terms of where the military veterans end up. So the question is, so give me an example. What might happen when a job is posted and you have many applicants for that position?
So with so many recruiting departments in these large firms, they'll post a job, and for the number of jobs that they have available, they may have a small number of jobs available, but they'll have a huge number of applicants trying to get those much smaller number of jobs. And the HR departments, like so many other roles, they're generally, they're trying to do their best with very limited resources. And so what do? They have to go through the applicants as quickly as possible to find a match and a pairing to the very few opportunities that they have. And the process very often goes like this. They look at this huge stack of resumes and they say, okay, very quickly, 8 to 10 seconds each, do they have a college degree? Do they have the exact, or at least the exact number of years of experience in that specific industry? And can they quickly relate the applicant's interest to the open job? If the answer is no or in doubt on any or all those three things, that resume goes off into the circular file. And because of our vets coming from a background where a lot of the enlisted actually, they don't have college degrees, they have certainly at least the equivalent of that experience, but a lot of veterans lack college degrees. But even if they do have them, the fact that they don't have or they fail to have the years of industry experience that's readily obvious because they were in the military, they miss out. And so you have the vast majority of applicant veterans that go through a process that looks at those three things. Again, college degree, years of experience in an industry, and an aligning interest, they get circular filed.
All right, great. And then we just need to make the last part of it just a tiny bit more concise.
Sure.
So everything everything up until you talked about the veterans was textbook perfect, but now I'm going to ask you this last part again.
Ask away.
All right. So if anyone, whether it be a military veteran or not, but if anyone doesn't meet those three criteria, then they get put in the circular file. My question is, I'm going to ask you that same thing again, but go ahead and say, many veterans don't meet these don't meet these three criteria because of their unique background, and so they of course don't make the grade, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll lead you in. And so what about veterans? How do they fit in that equation?
So many of our veterans fail to meet those three criteria, and so they're left off to the side, and they never get the opportunities that their civilian counterparts do get.
Okay, good. Now, because I did talk to some very progressive HR folks and hiring managers, people whose entire job it is to recruit military veterans, I need you to set them up. So if I could ask you the question, but certainly there are companies who are reaching out and finding those veterans in proactive and progressive ways. So we can kind of like talk about the problem, but then we can kind of get into a little bit of hey, there's some light. Think times are changing. Okay, so the question is, that certainly is a problem, and I think that more people are aware of this problem. Are you aware of various movements in your circles as far as the practices of HR departments and hiring managers of actually going after and recruiting veterans in a proactive way?
Many of the more progressive and, shall we say, socially conscious organizations are creating capabilities where they do veteran outreach. So they create capabilities within their firms to go and find veterans and bring them in, or if a veteran applies or for a job, they champion that veteran if they have the right skills and the qualities into a role or various roles within an organization. So there's a lot of firms that take a very proactive stance in helping to put veterans within their respective organizations.
Good, great. Okay, and then can we talk about the census data on veteran unemployment and underemployment? I want you to kind of get into what you were talking about before with even though the veteran unemployment rate is pretty low, a lot of them are underemployed because they're just taking a job. They're not actually getting the career of their that they deserve and that they so the question is, can you give us a sense of some of the numbers of veteran unemployment and underemployment, and then anecdotally, what's going on behind these numbers?
So the census data is very encouraging in that we see that the veteran unemployment rates are about equal on a per age group basis as to the non-veterans. And so that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, before, veterans were much more unemployed than, say, their civilian counterparts. And this shift is obviously very, very welcome. That said, there still is a problem because there's employment and then there's also underemployment. And what we have is so many of our veterans, really qualified, capable men and women, real leaders, people trained in leadership, forged leaders that have forged under trial and tribulation and adverse conditions. They get out after 5, 10, 15 years and they go to get a job in the civilian sector, and what often happens is the corporate organization looks at them and says, this is fantastic, you have a wonderful background, and they'll take that person and they'll start them like they're practically right out of college. And that is an underemployment issue. I have spoken to many veterans, senior enlisted and colonels even, people that are in charge of hundreds of people, millions upon millions of dollars of equipment and material, people's lives, classified information, just a huge width and breadth of experience behind them. And organizations look at them and say, oh, that's great. We thank you for your service. We want to put you in charge of this small 5-person section. And that is a disservice to the veteran. It's more of a disservice to the organization, because the organization can benefit from the skills, the capability, the background of these veterans, put them in a more appropriate position where they have a broader scope of responsibility that matches their broader capability, and they can get more from these people, and often more from some of the people that they would otherwise hire. Veteran underemployment is harmful to the vets, sure. It's more harmful to the companies that fail to take advantage of these great quality, talented people.
Great, perfect. Now I want to get into, you've said that you've been blessed and that you had a nice transition into the civilian workforce. I know, and we haven't even talked about Project Reload yet, but we will in just a moment, but I know that you know many who weren't as fortunate. And I'm curious if you can talk about emotion here. I want to know how your veteran friends and colleagues feel when they've decided to retire or are forced to retire for medical reasons or whatever, and all of a sudden need to find that first job. What is it like emotionally to be in that position and just need to do it? Just give me some words and elaborate as you desire.
So I'll start with elaborate as I desire, because I'm really better sort of free form, and let me hopefully you can edit in the answer to your question. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Was that ever an issue before? Okay.
Oh, it's okay.
Have the crows been okay?
It's not great, but we're not going to be able to do anything about it.
Okay. Well, they do come and go. They're here now.
Yeah, when I saw them fly through the frame.
Well, I'm talking about the sound. You know.
Yeah, no, now, yeah, but
Yeah.
being that they're right next to us here.
Well,
Cool. Well, we will keep going.
It's worse to your ears than it is to the
Yeah, I know.
microphone he's
The
wearing.
microphone is so targeted towards your voice that it's just going to be general ambiance. What are the thoughts and emotions that newly retired military veterans have when they're to find their first career? When they're wanting to find their first job out of the military.
so many of the veterans that are transitioning out, excuse me, when our military members are transitioning out of active duty and they're going into the civilian sector, and they got to make this leap, they have a lot of different emotions, and I think one of the emotions that they have that dominates and is one that they're in many cases unfamiliar with, or at least they're surprised by, is fear. Our veterans are very selfless. They don't seek jobs, they're assigned jobs, and that combination of selflessness and
I should
assign.
have you to take that one
Yeah,
more time.
we're going to have to pause. I'm getting a lot of static and feedback on the lab mic, so I need to
All right.
switch it up.
Hopefully, I just want to throw something at that tree. Hopefully they'll move on. But we're gonna just switch your frequency. You can just take a second to relax
Sure.
for a second.
I'm good.
Good.
You need a water or anything?
No, I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate it. I think I make a bad interview subject.
I don't. Not at all. You're my setup man. You're kind of the thread in the film, and you set up these points, and then I have other people that are, as you saw in my proposal.
You
kind of
did, yeah.
You're kind of the. I mean, it might not end up being that way in editing, but in my head, you're kind of like because you're everything. You're the veteran, and the corporate employee, and the Project Reload founder. So you kind of have your
The convergence, I guess.
yeah. You can speak to every issue in the documentary. Like there's not a single other person that we've interviewed that can actually speak to every single issue in the way that you can.
Let's go for it. Sounding pretty good right now.
Okay, so I was answering the question of the emotion that they feel.
Yes. Go.
And Ashley, if you can just to be super safe, you can scoot back and just. Great.
When our servicemen and women are separating from the military, they probably have a whole host of emotions. And one of the emotions that they're probably most likely to have and least likely to admit is fear. And the reason why is because, well, they're going into this great unknown. And it seems like going from like the military and the things they do into corporate America as an example. Why would that cause any fear? Well, there's two main things. In the military, you seldom look for a job. You're assigned one. The other thing is that you seldom self-promote. You rather execute as a team. And when you're getting out of the military, all of a sudden that changes. And now you have to seek a job. You're not assigned one. You have to seek a job. And then you have to put together a resume that's all about how great I am and how wonderful I am and all the things that I did. And it sounds so odd and so obvious, but our servicemen and women, actually, that's not in their native language. They are all about what we did, how we contributed to this, how this group and my team accomplished that, and it's very, very seldom that you get the word I out of them. In fact, there's a saying in the military that is used all the time, and almost everybody knows it because it's used outside of the military as well. There's no I in team. In the Marine Corps, there's a saying, it's the Marine Corps motto is Semper Fi. And if somebody was doing something that seemed to be too oriented around themselves, someone would look at them and go, yeah, Semper I, huh? And the point of that was, it's never about you. It's always about the team, and don't you ever forget that. And so that is inculcated into the mindset of our men and women that serve our military. And so when they're getting out, and now they're on their own, They've in so many ways lost their mission and their purpose. They've lost their brothers and their sisters, and now they have to fend for themselves, seek a job, and then self-promote. And that's pretty darn scary.
Let's switch that frequency again.
Did we-
We're great on the boom. The boom sounds really, really good, but I just want to attend to have two sources of audio.
It is amazing to me, though, how Colonel Brown, when you get a chance to talk to her, and if you're able to get a sense of the things that she's done and the things she's capable of, you're going to be like, this is an amazing person. What a wealth of experience. And I told her this, and if I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry, but one of our executives the last time made a comment and said, there's two things that really, really surprised me about Colonel Brown. How incredibly diverse her background is and how hugely applicable it is to the corporate environment, and how she's utterly unaware of it. And it's because when she talks, she'll say, oh, we did this and we did that, and she's unable to bring forth, like, it's clear when you talk to her, on a one-on-one basis, but you kind of have to pull that, right? And I know we're not on the mic, and that's fine. It's just an interesting thing to know, and a separate interesting thing to consider. A lot of the more progressive organizations are creating these veteran outreach programs, and that's awesome. It's almost like an extension of an HR department that says, hey, we're going to really be conscious of pulling veterans into our organization because it's good for our business, and there's a number of reasons why it could be good for their business. The problem with that approach, though, is it's still a push. Someone's taking veterans, and even though they're an internal person, and they're saying, hey, we got veterans, you need to hire them. On the other side of the HR department is still got to be a hiring manager and our executive that says, I want veterans.
I'm asking you that exact question.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry, that's a humongous question I'm asking you that I want you to be able to articulate.
Okay, good, because that is the essence of what
no,
we're trying to do. We got to create
the two
that
things
pull.
about Project Reload, like the main themes in this film are the show that I'm showing you my leadership, I'm not telling you about it, and that it's executive facing and not veteran facing, so that you are going to the executives and you have much more scalability in sort of reaching that one person that can totally change an entire organization.
Short
rather than
path to
one
change is the way I like to look
Yeah,
at it. It's a short
exactly.
path to change.
A lot of issues, huh?
Let's go for it while it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. You just talked about the emotions, the problems of veterans as they're coming out of the military.
The fear factor.
And so my next question is, there's a lot of things related to help that that this film explores, and Project Reload is one source of that help. We've talked
Sure.
about Hire Heroes. We talked about Marines for Life. We talked about counseling and mentor-mentee relationships and building networks and those progressive types of HR managers, that sort of thing. But without saying the names of any organizations specifically, I want to ask you, how important is it for veterans to ask for help as they're making that transition? How important is help for veterans? And how easy is it for them to ask for that help in some cases?
Well, I might give you an answer that you, well, let's see. I'll give you an answer. Hopefully this does what you want it to do. I think it's critical for veterans to ask for help because there's so many resources out there that can help veterans through their transition. 37,000 nonprofits out there, all designed to help veterans in some way, and most of them are very, very small, but there's just a ton of resources. The challenge for veterans is that so many veterans are actually very bad at asking for help. Veterans come at the world often from the perspective that if asking for help is a sign of weakness, and by the way, that is something far from unique about veterans, and people in general believe that if you ask for help, it's a sign of weakness. It clearly is something other than weakness. It's actually someone that needs a resource is getting it from someone who's very happy to give the resource, and when they come together, great things happen. If our veterans could become more comfortable with asking for help, they would find a wealth of assets, a wealth of capabilities at their disposal that'll help them get whatever and wherever they need to go.
Great.
Is
Yeah.
is that help you? Is that
Yes,
the answer
that's
you were
perfect.
looking for?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, that's
Because I really do believe that. It's
Right, I know. Well, and I mean, even in an interview today with, I'm sure you could imagine out of the 3 veterans that I talked to, which one said that he would never ask for help. He's like, yeah, I would never do that. It's just not in my DNA. I couldn't ask for help. And I'm like, but you're giving help. Like you understand the importance of giving help. You understand that it's important to like help these fellow veterans, achieve their goals. But it's just still so deeply ingrained.
Yeah.
In Mike.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I know. I knew who that was.
So it's interesting, the ones that it is so deeply ingrained, and those that are able to overcome it, and the importance of doing so. But he was able to articulate why asking for help is important, as you just did. Now, you talked about these 37,000 nonprofits that are out there, and most of them, and here's where I want you to talk about veteran-facing versus executive-facing. Now I want you to talk about your nonprofit. So,
Okay.
and I want you to do it through the lens of why you are unique. Why is Project Reload unique? And if you could talk about that executive-facing element, and I'll go into my next question about the actual mission part of it in a little bit. So, in terms of who you're actually targeting, why is Project Reload unique?
So Project Reload is a very unique organization because it attacks, or addresses rather, the demand side of the business veteran equation. So let me just expand on that a little bit. So there's tens of thousands of nonprofits in the United States in support of veteran causes. They all have they all have something in common, that they're trying to give the veteran something. They're trying to give them perhaps training to help them get a skill. Perhaps it's money or a material thing. Perhaps it's giving them an opportunity. Project Reload looks at it from the other direction, and that we're looking at helping businesses realize that they can fundamentally build better business by pulling veterans into their organization, take advantage of their character, of the quality of that character, and the skills that they innately have. Again, their adaptability, their integrity, their decisiveness, their ability and willingness to take on risk. Businesses can build a better business if they hire these kind of people, and that's what Project Reload tries to make it very clear. So we can get businesses to want to pull veterans in, as opposed to feeling like they're getting something pushed upon them. Is just a thing I'll add. I'm not sure if this is useful or not. So I'm a veteran and I'm a business executive. As a veteran, I don't want a handout. As a business executive, I don't want to give one. If someone is coming to me and saying, hey, you have a talent gap, and here's a great quality and great quality person that can fill this, I'm going to be very anxious to embrace that person and bring them into my organization. That can be a veteran or any other demographic. If I get a chance to bring in a veteran that brings this great quality to my organization, I want to hire that person. It does something great for the veteran, but it does something very, very important for me too. It helps me build a better organization, and that's really, really important to me.
Great.
I was a little bit sloppy, but this whole
it's
concept of this handout is so important. Businesses feel like, and I'm just for a second, I know, talking to so many of these businesses, they often feel like these veteran groups are coming at them looking for some sort of handout or attention. They fail to understand that their business benefits from hiring these men and women that have been so meticulously trained in the military, that when they bring those capabilities and that training, and they figure out how to use it to the greatest extent possible within their firms, business wins. And by the way, it benefits veterans too. And that's what Project Reload is trying to illustrate to everybody that will listen to us, and certainly everybody that will participate with us.
You talked in a previous conversation about how it is not your intention to give them even a leg up on their to get them to be considered when they aren't on equal standing. How do I want to put this? You don't want to. It's not like affirmative action where you're like giving them a
preferential status.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'd like a little quote from you saying about it. We're not about giving preferential treatment to veterans. We're about equaling the playing field in order so that they can get a chance. That sort of thing.
Yeah, Project Reload, and I would say actually most of the veteran causes that I'm aware of, it's these organizations and Project Reload, scratch.
Yep.
Our perspective of Project Reload is something other than veterans are some sort of preferred class. Rather, what we're trying to show people is that our men and women coming out of the military have great qualities that should be taken advantage of where appropriate in a corporate setting. There are great veterans and there are less great veterans. There are great non-veterans and so forth. They just have to be equally considered. And when policies and practices are designed in such a way that sort of immediately screen out veterans because of the technical focus of, looking at for college degrees, specific years of experience in industry, and a quick understanding of background, you lose the veterans. And our point is, don't lose these great men and women. Assess them equally across the whole of the body of talent you have access to and bring in the right people for the right job. And you'll find that a lot of those right people are veterans, and they're going to help you build a better business.
Great. Really good. I like that answer for the previous question that I asked.
I do better when I'm just kind of like ad-libbing, so I sorry about that.
No, I love it. All right, so the other part of the unique mission of Project Reload is this notion of showing leadership over talking about it. And I want you to put this in the context, ad-libbing, of, okay, so we talked about the difficulty in showing that you're a leader through a job interview, because, it is difficult if your culture is to be very team-based, very we did this together, and to talk about, I am a leader because that's just a little bit of a difficult translation for a lot of veterans to talk about themselves as leaders when they're trying to get jobs. So why is it important in Project Reload for this mission-based approach and sort of for the veterans have an opportunity to show what they can do? Just talk about veterans and leadership and missions and all that in an organic way.
There's a fundamental principle of leadership that really needs to be followed by anybody that would consider themselves a leader, and that is the concept of leadership by example. And it's very difficult for a good leader to come in and say, hey, I'm a great leader, look at me, hire me, right? I was in the military, or I never served, but I led this number of men and women, I did these great things, and they just extol the virtue of their great leadership capabilities. And if you actually ever heard someone do that, you would be like, well, I'm unsure if that's true. Because you really only know leadership when you see it, and that's why leadership by example is so important. At Project Reload, we create environments where we team executives and transitioning veterans, and at Project Reload, we create environments where we team corporate executives and transitioning veterans. And I'm getting stuck. We create environments. All right, sorry.
No worries.
Okay. At Project Reload, we create environments where there is a certain amount of adversity, both scripted and unscripted, where our participants, which are both corporate executives and transitioning veterans, have to work together and have to rely on one another. And in that working together and in that relying on one another, you will see organically people that will step up and demonstrate great selflessness, great esprit, great teamwork, and great leadership. It is in these environments, these organic environments, where real leadership is demonstrated and where you can really then assess that person and go, this is the kind of person, the cast of people we want to bring into our organization, because they really can lead us.
Great. And then
Switch the frequency again. Sorry, just took some hits at the very tail end of that.
okay.
But the boom is sounding great. Actually, we'll probably just end up using the boom on track 1 and 2.
This is the boom.
That's the boom, yeah.
So this one is actually less good.
Well, when you have a clear channel, basically, it'll sound great. But we're just getting a ton of interference out here.
Is that by devices? It's not environmental in terms of like wind and stuff.
Radios,
It's anything else going on. You know, it can be various things.
Okay.
It's radio frequency in the atmosphere. So
Okay, gotcha. All
we're
right.
just getting a ton of interference, and there's been static, there's been hits. So I'm trying to find the sweet spot. So let's go for it while it's clear. We're sounding good right now. And like I said, after we've got the boom.
And there's absolutely no wind issue on the boom. We've got-
Boom sounds great. with
Okay,
that,
perfect.
with that,
All right. All right, so it's more than a trip. I want you to talk about this commitment, this pact that the executives take in placing veterans in their professional networks.
So every single participant every single executive that participates with Project Reload does more than just simply participate and get to know our veterans. There's also a commitment that they make and a pledge that they take. At the conclusion of every one of our missions, we're provided a body of applicants of great quality transitioning veteran talent that we get through a partner organization. And we have our executives take on a portion of those, each of them take on a portion of those profiles and bring them into their respective network. Now, what we mean by that is they will consider them for job opportunities. They will contact them, look over their resumes. They will mentor them. They will get their respective organizations to perhaps interview them or give them feedback on their resumes, etc. There's a lot of different ways that this can be done within organizations, but there's a commitment on which to figure out how to bring those veterans that are part of this profile base into every one of our executives' networks. That was kind of a sloppy answer.
Okay, I want you to answer it again.
Yeah,
and
sorry
then
about that.
I want you to talk about your goals for this year and then your goals for, I forget, you said it was like by 2018.
Yeah, by
you
2018.
have to be specific. I asked
Yeah.
Mike this question. He goes, should I forget? I asked Christian, he knows.
5,000 by 2018.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So I'm going to ask you again, but
Yeah.
then incorporate what that you have, that it's not just their commitment, but you
Yeah,
have
that's
a goal of this year, so we can kind of give you guys a nice firm standing in the objective department. All right. So,
Okay, good.
So question right back at you in a conversational, organic, ad-lib way. So tell me about what else is there? Is it just a trip?
So Project Reload is much more than just pairing executives and veterans. Of course, that's hugely important because we want our executives to understand and appreciate the quality and characteristics of our veterans and what they can bring to business. But at the completion of each and every one of our missions, the collective group of executives commit to placing 100 veterans into the collective network with the intent of helping them get hired or even possibly hiring themselves. Our intent is to put 400 veterans into this network by the end of this year, 2016, and our aspiration is to get as many as 5,000 in the network by 2018. So our growth aspirations and our impact aspirations are ambitious.
That was great. That was really good. Okay, so next question is, I think, very important. So think about it. But some people who see these films, are going to be like, sign me up. I want to go for the trip. How do I do that? But most people probably are not. Most people are not going to come on the trip. But they might get something out of watching it. So my question to you, and it's two questions. One is to the executives, and one is to the veterans. For the people who aren't going to go on a trip for various reasons, what do you want them to know? What do you want them to get out of the message, your mission? What is it that you want them to walk away with and carry with them and create change, that sort of thing? So first, towards the executives. What would you and the other founding members of Project Reload like for executives watching this film to do, to know, to understand, whatever?
All right, I got it. So there's, you can edit out the beginning of it. It's my preamble. All right. So there. So Project Reload is going to change. The missions that we conduct with Project Reload is to fundamentally create an understanding and appreciation of what our veterans can bring to corporate America. Now, organizations and individuals that are unable to participate in a Project Reload mission, there's still so much that they can do. If they understand that if their reaction allows them to act, then let's put an edit there in the middle.
Yep.
What we would really like people to do is understand that there's a short path for them to take in order to create a significant change. If an organization watches this and says, hey, all I have to do is fundamentally think about my hiring and recruiting process a little bit different and say, hey, it's college degree or maybe a veteran status, or it's X number of years of industry experience or this MOS from a military perspective, and they invoke that change, then they are making a huge difference. In fact, they're denting the universe. And any organization that hires 10,000 people that makes a change like that can make a massive change for a huge body of potential employees, great talent, and most importantly, for themselves.
Lovely, that was great. All right, same question to the veterans. Those veterans who might not be able, most of the veterans will not be able to go on a trip for one reason or another, but you want them to know what? For the veterans that are unable to directly participate in a Project Reload mission, I think it's really important for them to realize that they have incredible skills and attributes that could benefit corporate America. What they have to do is they have to have a confidence in that, right? And then they have to figure out how to articulate that. And then working with organizations like Project Reload and its partners, then they have to find their corporate counterparts that are willing to listen to that. Let us help them make those connections, and let us help them get the jobs that will make the companies they work for better companies. Great. All right, let me just look at this list and see if there's anything that I want to ask you specifically. All right, I think I've got everything that I want, but I want to give you the opportunity to give me anything else on your military career, your corporate career, your feelings about veterans, your feelings about transitioning, Project Reload, anything at all that we haven't talked about that you would like to communicate.
God, that could be like a 2-hour conversation, so maybe I'll just maybe find a couple highlights.
Can I stop you?
Yes.
Just right before you started answering this one, we started getting bad interference, so let me try one more channel here. So good at rapid time. Go ahead.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Is that
Sounding good.
all right? Okay, so just sort of an open-ended question. What else would I like to say? God. At this point now, I feel like I might be somewhat petered out because I could ramble on for a couple hours. You know, I think what I would tell you is that we've had a number of people at Project Reload. We've already started to see the change in individuals that have participated. When an executive that has never really interfaced with a veteran comes out and says, holy cow, I have to hire more people like that person, you know you've made a difference. And that means everything to us at Project Reload. But more important than that, it means something to the veteran and that business owner. The very first mission that we did at Project Reload, we had 2 veteran mentors. One of the veterans, we have 2 organizations fighting over who's going to be able to hire them. Now, one company wants to hire the individual directly and has already extended a job offer to them. The other one is trying to figure out how to build a company around that person. Now, these are real outcomes around real people. And these things happen, these outcomes happen when you pair people up and you build an understanding and you create an appreciation. And that happens in these environments that we create because they're deeply emotive. The people are forced to rely on each other. And that reliance is so critical because if you make bad decisions or you team poorly or you lead badly, then sometimes the environment sort of punishes you in a physical way. And that kind of sort of primal environment makes you really understand and appreciate people at light speed. And that's one of the reasons why we look at Project Reload and we say it's a relationship boot camp. Project Reload also does something that's very important for business leaders as well because, Project Reload does another thing for business leaders. In addition to exposing them to this great talent pool, which we call veterans, it also puts corporate executives, many of them that want to know fellow corporate executives or work with fellow corporate executives together, and it helps them build relationships that they can then go and build their businesses better and push forward together with. So after just our first inaugural mission at Project Reload, we have 3 companies that never worked together, ever, have now inked a strategic alliance where they're going to market in a new and different way. Now, this is fundamentally good business. And oh yeah, by the way, guess what? We're helping veterans too. Project Reload is about helping organizations understand that hiring a veteran is way more than a social good. It's good business. And Project Reload sets that up by building relationships between executives and veterans as well as between executives themselves. And in the end, all the participants win. There's no handouts given. There's none expected. Yet what you can expect is you can expect coming out of a Project Reload mission enriched and with a better understanding of a talent pool that can help you accomplish your organization's goal better, faster. Some sound bites. I don't know if those are useful or not.
They are. I'm so happy you mentioned the change that has already occurred. I wasn't sure if you would have measurable results by now, and I should have asked, but I am so happy. It's amazing that
Then let me give you another one. Okay. So the man of few words, Mike Fletcher. So one of our veteran mentors that went on our first mission, well, this is a gentleman that wants to start his own firm. He wants to work outside of corporate America, and that's fantastic. In fact, most of the employment in America is in small business. Yet he needed help trying to orchestrate a very big investment around the business that he wanted to start. And one of our executives that went on the last trip has been mentoring him, guiding him, and coaching him around how to structure this startup business that he's creating in a way that best facilitates the outcomes that he wants. Now, I'm unsure how he would have gotten that same level of assistance through other channels. I know he needed it, and he just happened to make that connection at Project Reload. We consider that an example of the successes that we're trying to create.
Very good. And then just one last question about logistics. I know that you right now are kind of in a friends and family phase of starting up, in that you are reaching out to your kind of front lines of people that you know and people that you know that know the people that you know and that sort of thing. And obviously these films can hopefully reach out to more people and that sort of thing. But logistically, how does the process work? Like, for people that are like seriously considering, this might be something I really want to do. How do they become involved in terms of logistics, cost, the vetting process, that sort of thing? Just give me a brief rundown of the.
So how does this all work? So I'll do just again ad lib. So Project Reload right now is 100% volunteer, 100% self-funded. And we're doing this because we believe in what we're trying to do, which again is help businesses take advantage of a great talent pool. We look at the participants, sponsors, volunteers in sort of three categories. We're looking for people to participate. That is, participate directly in a Project Reload mission. That is, again, to help them get a great team building and leadership experience while building an understanding and appreciation for a talent pool that they probably need to take greater advantage of. There's also promote. If you believe that veterans deserve at least a fair and equal chance within your organization, then figure out what actions you can take and ask us how we can help you figure out what actions you can take within your respective organization to make the process do something other than screen the veterans out at the first pass like so many recruiting and HR processes work today. And the third way is through sponsorship. So we are looking to scale our operation, support and bring 400 veterans into our business network in 2016 and as many as 5,000 by 2018. And for us to scale, we are going to need some sponsorship. We are going to probably have to move from being completely 100% volunteer and 100% self-funded to something else. So we're looking for sponsors in terms of outreach, marketing, material, legal support, etc. If an organization needs it to run, well, we probably need it to run, and we would take any kind of support that we could to scale this, because we design. The whole purpose of Project Reload is to sort of dent the mental universe, where we get organizations wanting to pull veterans in, and if we create 200 companies, 300 or 400 companies that create the programs that create a situation where their hiring managers actually want to pull veterans in, then we've dented the universe. We've made the difference in the world that we want to make. It doesn't take every company. It doesn't take 10,000 companies. Maybe it takes just the Fortune 500 to do that and create a real pull where they are saying, hey, look, we can build a better company by taking advantage of this underutilized talent pool. And so I'll replay very short.
Yep.
So if moving forward, Project Reload is hoping to get support in three ways. We're looking for more participants in our missions. We're looking for people to promote this message and make change within the respective organizations that help pull veterans into their ranks. And we're looking for sponsors to help us carry this message further, faster, farther.
Thank you. Ryan, is there anything else you want to ask?
I think we're good.
All right.
Good stuff.
We're just going to
Cut
sit
the
for
camera
20
here really
seconds.
quick.
Yeah, we're going to get some